ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि
ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि
मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्परः
मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्परः
अनन्येनैव योगेन
अनन्यैव योगेन
मां ध्यायन्त उपासते
मां ध्यायन्त उपासते।
Sloka number, please.
12.7.
Yes.
12.7.
Yes. तेषाम् अहं समुद्धर्ता
तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता
मृत्यु संसारसागरात्
मृत्यु
संसारसागरात्
भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ
भवामि न चिरात्
मय्यावेशित चेतसा
मय्यावेशितचेतसा।
Now last one, 12.8.
मय्येव मन आधस्त्वम्
मय्येव मन आदस्व
मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय
मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय
निवसिष्यसि मय्येव
निवसिष्यसि मय्येव
अत ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः
Hare Krishna, thank you.
हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna,
हरे
Hare Krishna.
कृष्णा हरे हरे
Krishna
कृष्ण हरे हरे
हरे राम हरे राम
हरे राम हरे राम
राम राम हरे हरे
राम राम हरे हरे।
Thank you, Kumud Mataji, and thank you everyone for chanting the shlokas. These shlokas are very important, and it is like you are giving instructions to your mind. So the first shloka we chanted is 7.1, where Krishna tells Arjuna that hear from me. So hearing is very important. The second instruction you give to your mind, 7.7, is Krishna says there's no truth superior to me and everything rests upon me. Then 8.6, 8.7, where Krishna says think about me and fight. And whichever thought you are thinking in your last, at your last moment, you will acquire the same body. Then Krishna goes to say that Satatam Kirta Yanto Mam, that all the great souls perpetually worship me. Then he tells that what happens to those who perpetually worship him. He says, I protect them. I give them whatever they lack and protect whatever they have. Then is the shloka that Krishna says, offer me everything, whatever you're eating, whatever you're giving in charity, whatever you're doing, whatever karma you're doing, you offer it to me. So when you're saying all this, then he says that, oh Arjuna, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So we are right in the middle of Bhakti Yoga, and when you say a few shlokas, just say about 10 shlokas of this Bhakti Yoga every day, your kind of relation with Krishna deepens. See, Krishna is speaking and you're telling your mind this. Okay, so now we'll start. I won't speak much. Already 20 minutes have passed. So now we will start this chapter. So before starting, I'll say Mangala Charan. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप गदामह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चातदेशतारिणे। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, let's say our obeisances to Shri Radha Govinda. It's their pleasure that I am speaking to you or trying to explain you chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, and it is really their pleasure that you are listening. Let the pleasure be all theirs. Okay, and of course we'll pay our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Because of him we are able to understand Gita. Okay, so here we saw chapter 9, hearing about Krishna's qualifications and disqualifications. Then 9.4 to 9.10, he tells us about his Aishwarya Jnana, that is Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva. He tells us that he is simultaneously present in the material world and also in the spiritual world. Then again he speaks about the worshippers and the non-worshippers, and Krishna is the supreme object of worship. And what are the glories of directly worshipping Krishna? So we read, I spoke today's shloka, we recited Satatam Kirtayanto Ma. So all the divine souls who are perpetually chanting his glories, chanting his name or serving him, are always protected by him. So now we'll go to chapter 10. So these are the three sections. So first we will see Krishna's position as the origin of everything. So here he tells that he is the origin. Then we will see the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita in the last section, where Arjuna accepts Krishna's supreme position and requests him to show his opulences. Okay, so now we recited a few shlokas. So right from chapter 7, Krishna is saying, listen to me. Then he is telling about his separated energies. He is now in the 8th chapter. In Krishna, Arjuna is asking he has some questions. What is Adhyatma? What is Adhibhut? And all these questions he has. So Krishna is answering these questions. And Krishna is saying that you think about me and fight. Even at the last moment, when you're about to leave the mortal world, you think about me. So continuously, this one thing is being bombarded on Arjuna, that you think about me continuously. Then in chapter 9.34, he tells that the great souls, they are serving me perpetually. They are thinking about me perpetually. They are chanting my glories. So Arjuna is just listening to all these things, that think about me. So now how to think about Krishna continuously. Okay, so this is what Arjuna has in his mind. So Krishna understands that what Arjuna is thinking. So he describes his opulences, and in that way, a devotee can easily fix his mind. Okay, and remember him when he sees beautiful things in the universe. So both this, especially in chapter 8, even in 18, but more so in chapter 8, which is right in the middle of Bhagavad Gita, if you see, Krishna's emotions have reached their peak. So see, he is asking us something. He's saying that I love Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, Toyam, and whatever is served to me with love and devotion, I accept it. So he wants us to serve. And then he also says that whatever you're doing, whatever karma you're doing, whatever you're eating, you first offer it to me. So we see that in chapter 9 that he has spoken out his emotions, and he's saying that who are divine souls, who is a Mahatma. So now chapter 10 focuses on description of Krishna's opulences. So what will happen by hearing what Krishna is saying? By getting attached or by seeing his opulences, our devotion will naturally increase. Okay, so Arjuna wants to increase his devotion. Okay, so these are the three sections which we will be seeing. So first we'll see Krishna's position as origin of everything. Okay, so anyone who knows Krishna as the unborn supreme Lord and the source of all sages and demigods is undiluted and free from sin. Okay, so once you understand this, so it's now we are just reading. We understand this by the way of reading, but by the way of principle or the tattva, okay, we do not understand. The minute you understand this, that Krishna is my source, from that minute, your life will change. Okay, you will be continuously chanting Krishna's glories. You will be like the Mahatma. You will not do anything material, or even if you do anything material, it will be only for Krishna. So this is the meaning. Only then one becomes free from sin. Now all qualities and attitudes, freedom from illusion, self-control, infamy, are created by Krishna. So he speaks about many qualities. So the source of these qualities is also Krishna. This is what he says. And those who engage, those who know Krishna's glories, engage in his service. So just like I told you, once you know this, that Krishna is my source, you will engage in his service 24/7. So now, Bhakti yoga is very simple. See, here Krishna has stressed again on hearing, again on hearing. So, do you need any big qualification to do Bhakti yoga? No, anyone can do it. The only qualification is you must hear. Even a baby in the womb of a mother can do Bhakti yoga. How? The mother is eating prasadam, automatically the child eats the same prasadam. Mother is chanting, the child in the womb is listening. Mother is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, the child is also hearing. And this way, the topmost benefit is attained for both the mother and the child. And then Krishna says, Name Bhakta Pranashyati. So even if my devotee falls down, I will protect him. So just see, though Krishna loves his devotees so much, Okay, now I will read this. 1 minute. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear friend, mighty armed Arjuna, listen again to my supreme word, which I shall impart to you for your benefit and which will give you great joy." So, see, he's saying, listen again. So, hearing is so important. We spoke about hearing, I think, 7th chapter, 9th chapter also. It is very, very important. And we have also, no, now I told you, even the baby in the womb receives the topmost benefit just by hearing. Now we know the story of Prahlad Maharaj. Being in the womb of his mother, he heard Narad Muni speak about the glories of Lord Narayana. He also heard Srimad Bhagavatam while he was in the womb, and he received the topmost benefit. So, hearing is very simple. It is the first process of the 9 devotional processes which we can do. Okay, now one minute. Okay, Lord Krishna asks us to listen carefully as he will reveal more wonderful. Can someone just read this?
Yes, Mataji. Lord Krishna asks us to listen as he will.
Okay, Jess, can you read?
Yes, Mataji. May I?
Yes, just the first line.
The opulence of the absolute.
Yeah, and the next, Lord Krishna asks us to listen.
Lord Krishna asks us to listen carefully as he will reveal more wonderful knowledge about his opulences. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, okay. So, chapter 7, thank you very much. Chapter 7, Lord explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now, chapter 9, Lord established his different energies to establish devotion in firm conviction. Okay, so this is the essence of chapter 9. And 10, he gives more confidential knowledge of his specific opulences and his work. So, hearing, see, this is the first qualification. This is the first and the most important qualification. Nowhere Krishna has said you need to be knowledgeable. No, hearing. So, eagerness to hear is the qualification. So, the discourses in the society of the devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in KC. Just like Arjuna's qualification, you are very dear to me. Okay, so now let's go to the next slide. Name vidu suragana prabhavam namaharshayah aham adirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvashah. Neither the host of the demigods nor the great sages know my origin, for in every respect I am the source of demigods and the sages. He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he undiluted among men is freed from all sins. Now, here Krishna says that I am the origin and actually no one knows me. And then he also goes to say the 7 great sages. Okay, first I will just read this 10.4 and 10.5. Buddhirjnanam asammoha Shama satyam dama shamaha sukham dukkham bhavo bhavo Bhayam cha bhayameva cha ahimsa samata tushti sapodanam yasho yashaha bhavanti bhava bhutana matta eva pruthak vidaha. So these are the qualities discussed in these last two verses, 10.4, 10.5. Okay, so all these qualities, please understand the origin is Krishna. Okay, so see these qualities: intelligence, the power to analyze things in the proper perspective. What is this? I can't read because of my bar. Can someone read this?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, what is this?
Knowledge or Jnanam.
Jnanam. Okay, knowing the distinction between matter and spirit. Academicians only talk about matter. We know the scientists will speak only about the matter. They will not speak about the spirit. Freedom from doubt and delusion. This can be achieved when one acts without hesitation based on understanding of transcendental philosophy. Nothing should be accepted blindly. So freedom from doubt and delusion means one has read the Shastras very well and has clarity, tolerance and forgiveness. We must excuse the minor offenses of others. One should be practiced to bear insult and dishonor from others. So this is the hallmark of a Vaishnava. So can someone tell me any story, if you all remember, from Srimad Bhagavatam or in your 18 days Bhagavad Gita class, where this pastime has been narrated? Can anyone tell me? Yes?
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yes, Prahlad Maharaj, very nice. And you also remember the story of Ambarish Maharaj and
Yes.
Durvasa Muni?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so this is the example of tolerance and forgiveness, truthfulness, facts represented as they are for the benefit of others, not to distort the truth for some personal interest. Control of senses, damaha. Senses should not be used for personal enjoyment. So this is known as kam. Atma Indriya Trupti Vancha Taro Nam Kam. So if you use your senses for your sense gratification, then it's like you fall down in the material pool. But the senses must be used to give pleasure to Krishna. Control of the mind. So restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts like money. Power of thought should be developed in association with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. This is very powerful. We spoke about control of mind entirely in chapter 6. How is the mind? Can you describe? What has Arjuna said? How is the mind? Yes, anyone remembers?
Mataji, he says wind can be controlled, but not the
Yes.
mind.
Yes, yes. So mind, to control the mind, what we have to do? We have to do some activity, no? We have to restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. Here they have given one example of money. It could be other items of sense gratification also. But we must restrain the mind. We must also develop our mind in such a way that we think about Krishna. Now, just let me tell you, we are in Kali Yuga. Now, what is the beauty of Kali Yuga? That any thought, say, supposing there's some negative emotions that is coming in our mind. In all the previous 3 yugas, Satyuga, Dwapar Yuga and Treta Yuga, all these negative emotions would give you some karmic reactions. Okay, even a negative emotion in your mind will give you that karmic reaction which you have to face. But in Kali Yuga, any negative emotion, even which you, if you have in your mind, it will not give you the karmic reaction. But does that mean that we have to think negatively or think unnecessary thoughts in our mind? No, because thoughts will turn into words and words into actions. But the positive side of this is, in Kali Yuga, if you think about Krishna, if you think lovingly about Krishna, oh Krishna, I want to attend your Sankirtan, Krishna, I want to serve you, you will get multiple benefits even for the thoughts, even for such pious thoughts or such thoughts in which your mind is connected to Krishna. Immediately you will get good results. So control of mind, we must engage our mind in the thoughts of Krishna. Okay, this is very important. We must engage. So now happiness and distress. Now this will come, this is, you know, the duality of the mind. Mind will always be either happy or either in distress. So again, if you attain control of the mind and if you think about Krishna, there will always be happiness. And this intelligence, okay, this intelligence will come after you have read the scriptures, after you are associating with the devotees of Krishna. So Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, this will help build your intelligence. So these are the qualities. Now Krishna has said, no, that the host of demigods and even the sages don't know me. So here I just want to tell you that okay, happiness and distress always considered in relation to what is favorable or unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. So this is what a devotee will think, that okay, if whatever I'm doing is for Krishna, then this happiness should automatically come to your mind. If you're just wasting your time, then this will be distress for a devotee. Okay, now these are the other qualities. Birth. For soul, there is no birth or death. Fearlessness, that is abhayam. So we understand, when we understand the nature of the soul, we become fearless. Non-violence, not to do anything that would put others in misery, confusion, distress. So this is non-violence, but the actual meaning of non-violence is that we do not give our soul Krishna consciousness, or we when we do not chant, when we do not go to the temple, when we do not worship Krishna, this is violence to the soul. Okay, now equanimity. So that is, you have to be equal both in even if someone praises you, someone insults you, in happiness, in distress. So this equanimity should be there. Satisfaction, that is tushti. So how are all Krishna's devotees? They are satisfied, very much satisfied. They may not be rich, they may not be opulent, but this is the quality that comes directly from Krishna. Austerity and penance, charity, so fame. So all these qualities, you will not find them in the market. These qualities come as a gift from Krishna as you progress in your Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Now this is 10.6. Maharshaya पूर्वे चत्वारो मनवस्तथा मद्भावा मानसा जाता येषां लोक इमा प्रजाः. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages and the Manus, progenitors of the mankind, are born out of my mind, and all creatures in this planet descend from them. So here Krishna is saying that even these great sages, the 4 Kumaras, even they don't know me. This is what Krishna is saying. Now, I'll just tell you a pastime that Brahma is there. He is seeing that how this Krishna is there. He is playing with the gopas, with the cowherd boys. And he is thinking that he is so much educated. He knows the 4 Vedas. He has so much knowledge. He has got 4 heads. So here Brahma says that no, that this cannot be the Supreme Lord. My Supreme Lord is all perfect. And just see how this small boy is walking. He is walking with a yogurt rice in his left hand, and in between the fingers all the rice is dripping. And now just see, Brahma saw that when Krishna was playing with the cowherd boys, his one Gopa, Bal Gopa named Madhumangal. This Madhumangal was very much fond of eating laddus. Okay, so he used to, tell his friends, oh, look there in the sky, such a nice bird. And at that time, he used to take 3-4 laddus and just follow them one after the other. So once he, played this trick, and he said, Krishna, look there, look there. And immediately he took 3-4 laddus in his mouth and was unable to swallow them. So Krishna realized how he is cheating others and making fun. So that time Krishna punched him in such a way that all the laddus came out of his mouth and directly went in Krishna's mouth. Krishna had kept his mouth open. So now Brahma sees all this and says, this is not my Supreme Lord. And then Brahma Vimoha Leela happens. Okay. And then when the Brahma Vimoha Leela happens, then Brahma realizes that when Krishna expands himself into so many thousands of the cows, and again the gopas, each one looking exactly like he was looking before, he realized, oh, this is my Supreme Lord. And he prays to Krishna for forgiveness. And he says that time, I do not know your opulences, O Supreme Lord, I'm confused. But seriously, I think that you also don't know about your opulences. So in Srimad Bhagavatam also it is stated that the Ananta Shesh, with all his 1,000 mouths and tongues, is trying to glorify Lord Krishna, but cannot glorify Lord Krishna at all, because the glories of Krishna are unending. So here we understand that no one, no demigods, no sages, no one really can understand Krishna, because he is unlimited. We can only understand him if we are doing Ananya Bhakti. Unalloyed devotion to Krishna is the only way you can understand Krishna. Okay, so who is Krishna? He is the source of all. He is our, in one sense, grandfather, Pitamaha, because if we say Brahma created the world, he is our father. So his father is Krishna. So that way we also can say he is our Pitamaha. And so here, see, the 4 Kumaras, 7 sages, and the 14 Manus are born from his mind. So you know the 4 Kumaras: Sananda, Sanatan and Sanat Kumar. And the 7 rishis, Kashyap, Atri, Vasishtha, Vishwamitra, Gautama, Jamadagni, and Bharatvaj. So these are the 7 sages. And these are the 14 Manus, out of which the present Manu of this Yuga is Vaivasvat. So we won't go too much into the details of the other Manus. Okay. So he who knows in truth this glory and power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. So this is he who knows that in truth this glory, means he who knows this principle, who knows who I am, only he will engage in unalloyed devotional service. So I'll just read the shloka. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo vitti tatvatah so vikampena yogena yujyate natra samshayah. So this slide, can you see that Krishna and Balaram are entering Mathura, and everyone in Mathura is awestruck, by their beauty, and they really are stopping whatever they are doing, and they are taking they're just looking and seeing, oh, just look at Krishna. I mean, just like how the sun is, you can see the sun in whichever corner of the earth you stand. Similarly, these people, in whichever corner they are, some are there on the terraces, some are there on the hilltops, somehow, muchever crowded it is, they can see Krishna, and they're so happy to see him. They are like stunned, and they're just standing there. Okay, now we'll see the Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. So this Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita is the essence. Okay, is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. It speaks about the Sambandha Jnana, what is our relationship to Krishna. It speaks about what activity we must do in that particular relationship, and it speaks about the goal. What is the goal of the relationship? Okay, so I will just read. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattaha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. The wise know this and perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So you can say these are the 4 seed verses of Bhagavad Gita, and Ramanujacharya said that these 4 verses are the heart of Bhagavad Gita. So you all know Sambandha. Now, supposing if there is a patient, supposing that there's a person and he has got a chest pain, so then some of his relatives, his friends will tell him, okay, you go to this and this cardiologist. So maybe nowadays everyone will Google and they will see which hospital he is, they will see his qualifications, they will ask some other friends and family, oh, how is this doctor? So once they know, he knows that this doctor is very good, so he will go to that doctor. So now he establishes a relationship. The doctor also establishes a relationship with this patient. When the doctor sees the patient, he asks him about his previous history and asks him about his work, his, some history. The doctor will always ask about the patient. Then Abhyudaya. What is Abhyudaya? The activity. what will the doctor do? He will diagnose. He will tell the patient to take some medicines, do some X-rays, blood test, and then this is the goal. What is the goal? The goal is health. So in Abhyuday, the doctor will also do the diagnosis, and the patient will also have an activity to follow the diet and take the medicine every day. So when he does this, he gets the goal. What is the goal? To get his health back. So this is the Abhyuday Prayojan, and this 10.8 is Sambandha, or the relationship. So we need to know that Krishna is the creator. Okay, we need to know the relationship. So all of us have understood the Sambandha Jnana, or the relationship with Krishna. Now the Prayojan. Now most of us are in this stage, in Abhyuday. We know the Sambandha, and now we also know that even if we don't have much knowledge about the Vedas, we are not Jnanis, we don't understand Sanskrit, still then we can reach Krishna. So we know that. Now Abhyuday, what is the activity? What is required to do that activity? Okay. So here Krishna is saying that I am the creator, I am supreme, I am the source of everyone. So what is the result of knowing this? One worships Krishna with all love and devotion in their hearts, engages in devotional service and surrenders. So in Abhyuday, okay, now we will read this. Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great bliss and satisfaction. They derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. So this is Abhyuday. So what is this? Krishna says, so here, what does Krishna says? What is the activity? The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me. So here, Krishna is saying that my devotees think about me, and I also think about them. So see, this is the activity, patient and doctor. The doctor also examines the patient and prescribes medicines, diet for their patient, and at the same time the patient also follows the prescription. The doctor and the patient, both, there is some activity. So similarly, like that, Krishna is also thinking about his pure devotees always. And Krishna says, how do they live? With their lives surrendered to me. And this is also the goal. Okay, what is the goal? To derive satisfaction and bliss. Whenever we speak about Krishna, this is the goal which we get automatically, that we get great satisfaction and bliss when we talk to each other about Krishna. Okay, now symptoms of a pure devotee. Krishna becomes his life and soul. He constantly hears and about Krishna and discusses about Krishna. So now let's see the two stages of devotional service. In the preliminary stage, the devotees relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. Okay, and in the mature stage, they are always situated in the love of God and relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. and see what are the devotees doing. What does Krishna do? The thoughts of his pure devotees dwell in me. So you know the story of Madhavendra Puri. Tell me, you all know the story?
No, Mataji, we don't know. We don't know,
Okay.
Mataji.
Okay, I will just tell you. There was once a devotee of Krishna, Madhavendra Puri. He was living in South India. So once he decided, let me go to Vrindavan. I want to visit Krishna's temple. I want to see the Govardhan mountain. And he was a very pure devotee of Krishna. So he goes there and he does the Govardhan Parikrama. He sees Krishna's temple, and from morning he's walking from one temple to another, then the Govardhan Parikrama, and now it's evening time. He just sits under a tree. He is very, very tired. Okay, and he's continuously chanting. Now Madhavendra Puri was such a devotee that when he will never leave his chanting or devotional service and go begging for alms. He would sit in one place only. If food comes by Krishna's mercy, he'll have it. Otherwise, he will not have it. That is known as Ajagar Vritti. So he, like a python which remains at one place and gulps when the prey comes to him. So that day he was very tired, very hungry, and he was sitting under a tree chanting. So it was evening time. One boy, dark-skinned boy, very beautiful, comes to him and gives him an earthen pot full of milk and says that, Babaji, you please drink this milk. Since morning you're fasting, you never had any food. So Madhavendra Puri is surprised. How do you know I didn't have any food? So he said, Babaji, my mother is very clever. She knows everything. And she always sends me, go, this Swamiji has come giving fruits. This Babaji hadn't had food since morning. Go and serve him milk. So she knows everything. That is why she sent me and I have come. So please drink this milk. And I am going to bring my cows back home. So once I keep the cows back home, I will come to take the pot. You please keep the pot, because if I don't take the pot home, my mother will scold me. So he said, okay, I will bring the milk, I will wash the pot and keep it, you come. And this boy goes, and then Madhavendra Puri drinks the milk. It is so nice, so tasty milk. He's never had like this milk before. He drinks the entire milk and then goes to sleep. When he goes to sleep, and all these great saints, even Srila Prabhupada, they will sleep just for 1 or 2 hours, because that Tamo gun, Rajo gun, they are out of these 3 gunas. They are only Shuddha Sattva. So just little sleep. I feel that sleep is also a state of Samadhi. So he slept, Madhavendra Puri, and then he gets a dream. In the dream, that same boy comes and says, didn't you recognize me? So he says, who are you? So he says, I'm Gopal. And then Madhavendra Puri says, oh my God, I took service from Gopal, from Krishna, instead of serving him. And then Gopal tells him, please go to Govardhan mountain in such and such a place. One of the pujari hid me during the Muslim attack on the temple. Please remove me. I'm very tired. My skin is burning. Please apply chandan on me. And I'm extremely hungry. So Madhavendra Puri immediately gets up after the dream and feels so bad that he took service from Krishna instead of serving Krishna. So he sits. It's still midnight and everyone is sleeping. So he waits till it's dawn. And when he sees some villagers, he tells them about his dream. Then he gathers some more villagers and they all go to the Govardhan mountain. and they find at the same place, they find the idol or the Archa Vigraha of Krishna. This Archa Vigraha today is at Nathadwara, okay, as Srinathji. So this is how thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. So see, Krishna was thinking, oh, my devotee is hungry. Since morning he did not have anything to eat. So this is how Krishna always remembers his pure devotees once you are surrendered to him. So how is the life of the devotees? Fully devoted to Krishna's service. And what do they get? This is the goal. They derive great satisfaction and bliss and are always conversing about me, just like Srila Prabhupada. Okay, now 10.10. So this is the goal. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajantam priti purvakam dadhami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So remember, once you are constantly devoted to Krishna, who will give you the understanding? Krishna will give you the understanding by which you can attain him. So now, strictly speaking, now I think there is one more verse, 10.11. Okay, so these are the three yogas we studied so far. Karma yoga, when one knows the goal is Krishna but is addicted to the fruits, so he will be a karma yogi. Jnana yogi, when one knows goal is Krishna but takes pleasure in mental speculation to understand Krishna, he is acting in Jnana yoga. Buddhi yoga or bhakti yoga, when one knows the goal and seeks completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in Buddhi yoga or bhakti yoga, the complete yoga or the highest perfectional stage of yoga. Okay, 10.11. Tesham eva anukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashyami atmabhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So again, this is also the goal. What does the goal is? Our ignorance should be removed. So who removes this ignorance? Krishna removes this ignorance. When we are surrendered to him, when we are devoted to him, when we are finished with all our material activities, only that time we can surrender to him, and Krishna will then destroy all the avidya or ignorance that is present within our heart. Now, this is the special mercy of the Lord. This is also known as causeless mercy. Actually, we are not even, we are not qualified for Krishna's mercy. But see, there is a small difference between, I will just tell you the Hindi word, daya and krupa. Now you tell me that supposing if there is a beggar on the street, and you give him some money, so will it be daya or will it be krupa? And supposing if there's a servant in your house, he's working in your house for the last 15-20 years, serving you very well, so he asks for some money, so will it be daya or will it be krupa? Now you tell me on which, on the beggar it will be daya or krupa, or on this servant in your house, it will be daya or krupa. Can someone tell me? Yes, you can unmute.
With the servant who is working at the home, it will be the Kripa Mataji.
Yes, servant who is working, it will be krupa. For other people, it will be daya.
Daya.
So, see, this is for us, you know, we are not even qualified for the krupa. For the special mercy of the Lord, we are not qualified. Tell me from your heart, are you doing everything for Krishna? Are you giving everything to Krishna? Whatever instructions are there, are you abiding by the instructions? Tell me. Why you're all quiet? Are you listening to the class?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So just tell me that are we entitled for the mercy?
No, Mataji.
No, we are not entitled to the mercy at all. So this is called causeless mercy. But the servants of the Lord, you know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said how you must be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. So dasanu, 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 das. Okay, so servants, those servants are entitled for Krishna's mercy, but for us, we are actually not entitled, but this is the causeless mercy or the special mercy of the Lord, where he destroys all the impediments and dispels the ignorance in the heart with the shining lamp of ignorance. So just see how much Krishna wants us, how much. Okay, so I think verses 10.12 to 10.18 Rupa Mataji will take. So now actually speaking, Bhagavad Gita is over, okay? 2.11 to 10.11, technically speaking, okay? See, now after this, Krishna has told about Sambandha, Abhyudaya and Prayojana, and now Arjun has accepted his immediately 10.12 verses. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum. So now he's just going to praise Krishna. He's accepted Krishna's supremacy. So now on from 10.12 onwards, okay, all that Arjuna is going to ask is for the benefit of all of us. Technically speaking, now he is ready to fight. Even in the 11th chapter, the first verse only Arjuna has said that my illusion is now dispelled. Okay, so he has said that my illusion is dispelled. So technically speaking, 10.11 Bhagavad Gita is over. That doesn't mean that you stop coming to the class. You still have to come because Arjuna is asking very, very important questions and it is for our own benefit. So this is how we have to see what Arjuna is asking. Use his answers for our benefit and progress. Okay, so you have any questions? I'll stop the recording.